Do you want to make everyone mad by advocating a controversial position on a hot-button political topic? I know I do. Do you want to risk boring everyone by discussing a complicated economic issue? Do you want to frighten everyone by telling them their well-being and maybe even their lives are at risk? Though they probably don't realize it. If so, talk about the healthcare system in the United States. That's what Lloyd will be doing this evening for his persuasive speaking speech, which is a required speech project in level 3 of the presentation mastery path. He will describe the current situation and propose a change that will probably mitigate the harm that has befallen millions of Americans every single year. Tonight's speech is called $49,830.52. Welcome, Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Although Toastmasters, many of you have probably heard that about 46% of all the personal bankruptcies in the U.S. each year are caused by medical debt. I know when I've heard that, I've always thought, well, they must be talking about people who like have a catastrophic accident of some kind and need, surgery and hospitalization and whatnot, or people who have suffered a catastrophic health issue, like say a heart attack or a stroke or cancer surgery or something of the sort. But that's not necessarily so. Consider this. On March 4th, my wife had to go into the hospital with a severe case of influenza B. Now, most of us think, flu, how bad can that be? But here's how bad it could be. The ambulance ride cost $1,298. 4 hours in the emergency room cost $978. 6 days admission into the hospital, $32,095. And then she was left so physically debilitated by laying in the hospital that long, she spent 16 days in Regency Wenatchee for inpatient physical rehab for $15,485. The grand total is the title of my speech, $49,830.52 for a case of the flu. Now that, if you think about that amount of money, that's a really nice car or a down payment on a house. If you lined up $49,830 $1 bills, they would stretch 4.7 miles. Think about that for a moment. A lot of cash. Now, we've got a problem here in the U.S. with our healthcare system. These, by the way, are the explanation of benefit reports from the insurance company. If you're having trouble sleeping, here's your fix right here. But if you don't read these, you can get a bad surprise later. Right now in the U.S., we spend $3.2 trillion per year on healthcare. That works out to $9,400 per person per year. That is a lot of money. In fact, it's 17% of our entire gross domestic product. That's the total of all the goods and services we produce in this country every year. That's more than any other nation spends. The second place is France, which spends about 11% of gross domestic product. And that's higher than the average for the world by quite a bit. Now, whether that's too much money depends on what the outcome is. After all, it's not so easy to put a price tag on your health or your life. And if we're buying the best medical care in the world, then we could justify spending more than everybody else. But we're not. It's important to compare apples to apples when you're comparing healthcare systems. And luckily that work has been done for us because there's an organization called the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. All the nations on Earth that fit 3 conditions are members of the OECD. They have to have a modern industrial economic base, they have to be a market economy, and they have to be democratic. Turns out there are only 36 countries in the world that fit all 3 of those criteria, and we are the richest one of them. Unfortunately for us, of all of those nations, those wealthy nations that are like us, we rank in the bottom 5 in life expectancy, infant mortality, heart disease, diabetes complications, teenage pregnancy, and sexually transmitted disease. The only 2 things we rank number 1 in are doctor pay. The average U.S. doctor makes twice as much as the average in the other nations in the OECD. And of course, the number of people who can't get any medical care at all because they can't pay for it. Now, why is that? You have to wonder, if you have a group of people, say, and one of them is radically different from all the others, why is that? Is that one person always correct, or is it more likely the other 35 would be correct? You can mull that question over for yourself. However, we are absolutely unique in the OECD because we are the only nation of the 36 wealthiest in the world that does not guarantee access to medical care to its citizens as a matter of law. And we're also the only one of those 36 countries that does not have a single-payer national health care system. All the rest do. Lisa's nodding yes because she's from Australia, which is one of those 36 countries that does. Now, I can tell you for a fact that if you tell people we should have a single-payer national health care system, there are people who will start frothing at the mouth and talking about socialism. It's not a socialist system at all. In a socialist system like England's, which it does have a socialist healthcare system, all of the hospitals and clinics and whatnot are owned by the government, and all of the doctors and medical people are employees of the government. You don't need to do that to have a single-payer system. In fact, there is a single-payer system here in the U.S. that has millions of members, and that's Medicare for senior citizens. It's single-payer in that the Medicare system pays the bills, but people can more or less choose who they want to go to for their medical care, and that's the way it actually works. Now, the reason for this has several causes. First of all, there are numerous federal agencies and 50 state governments that all operate parts of the healthcare system in the U.S. The result is a confusing welter of administrative overlap and whatnot that is incredibly inefficient. That's why the system we have now, 31% of the money that goes into that system is consumed by administrative costs. Whereas in the Social Security system, it's about 4%. It's just the inefficiency of the machinery of the system. We also have thousands of private insurance companies that are taking profits out of the system. Those don't exist in single-payer systems. We have the American Medical Association, which restricts the number of people who can get into medical school each year to 100,000 per year. And that's why we have doctor shortages all over the country. They're restricting the supply of doctors in order to keep the wages up. And of course, we have numerous pharmaceutical companies who lobby and keep the price of our prescription drugs sky high. If you take a Lipitor, for example, for cholesterol, all of the Lipitor in the world is made in 2 factories, one in Australia, one in Ireland. But the Lipitor that's bought here in the United States is 11 times more expensive than the Lipitor that's bought in Canada. It's illegal to import it from Canada because it might be a dangerous contaminated drug, even though it's the same drug. All of this means that we are paying a lot and not getting very much in terms of our healthcare system. A single-payer national system of some kind, there are numerous kinds, would undoubtedly be much more efficient, would be much cheaper to operate, and would provide better medical care for everyone. It's really that simple. Now, don't hold your breath waiting for this to happen because it's probably a political impossibility in this country. What I've been thinking about is that 3 weeks ago, my wife went back into the hospital with pneumonia, spent 6 days laying flat on her back, and is now at Regency. And so I'm going to get another pile of these things that total $49K. I should mention, by the way, that we're so well insured, we aren't going to pay any of this, so I'm not going to be bankrupt and begging all of you for food or anything. Mr. Coatsman.